Hello, everyone. This is Al Fadi, and I want to welcome you to episode 2 of this fascinating series with our dear brother Anthony Rogers. And the series is about the sonship of Christ. Last episode, we talked about the importance of this term. Today, we are going to talk about the meaning of the term. And with that in mind, I'm going to ask Anthony to basically jump into this important topic. So, Anthony, what do we mean by the sonship of Christ, which is something confusing to a lot of people, by the way?
Yeah, so Muslims, of course, are very much confused when it comes to this. There are all sorts of things associated with this idea when a Muslim hears it. In the first place, it's important to remember, as far as Islam goes, that Muhammad was reared in a pagan context, and he couldn't shake thinking in terms of pagan categories. So when he heard something like son or daughter or what have you, he thought in crudely anthropomorphic ways. His deity was an anthropomorphic deity. And the pagans, when they spoke along these lines, they had a specific meaning that he kind of imputed to Christians, which was inaccurate to do. But Christians too, when this question is put to them, are kind of confused. They know that Christ is God, but then when they think of this title, Son of God, or when this question is put to them, why is he called the Son of God? They stumble. How can he be God and the Son of God? Well, what we'll see today is that if you properly understand how the term is being used with respect to Christ, it's not either Christ is God or he's the Son of God. It's precisely because he is the Son that he is God. So basically, what we have to recognize is that in Scripture, this phrase is not always used in a biological or carnal sense. If we even take a step back, for example, and just think of the term father, sometimes the term father refers to somebody as the progenitor of something or the inventor of something, or in some way related to the thing that he's the father of in a way different than through biological procreation. And so, for example, in Hebrew, you have various names, like one name is Albi Alban. That was the name of one of David's bodyguards. And you might recognize in the name the word Av, or father, right? And then Alban. And so the name means father of strength. And this is not saying that he gave birth to strength. Maybe he had a wife who was named I don't know, Tough, and they gave rise to an offspring named Strength. Now, what this is saying is he possesses that quality, right? The father of strength is somebody who possesses strength. In other words, he's strong. He was one of David's mighty men. He's mentioned in 2 Samuel 23. Another name is Abi Asaph, which means father of gathering, and it referred to him as a gatherer.
Right.
Okay, so here you have already an idea of how the term father is used in a distinct way. Another example, by the way, a little slightly different, is in Genesis 4, where it refers to Jubal, and it refers to him as the father of all those who play the lyre and the pipe, right? It's not saying that, he gave rise to certain, it's not so much talking about him being the biological progenitor of people as much as the one who invented playing the lyre and the pipe and so forth. And so those who came along later, who also were inclined towards this activity, are ultimately tracing back this activity to him.
Right.
Now, when it comes to the term son, one of the things that kind of obscures people's ability to see how that term is sometimes used in a unique way is our translations will often give us the sense, but not give us how it's literally rendered in Hebrew. So I'll give you an example. Sometimes when the Old Testament wants to call somebody wicked, our translations will just say a wicked man. When the Hebrew more often and literally refers to that person as a son of Belial. Okay, a son of Belial. The word Belial means wicked or wickedness, and it was used as a word for Satan, right? Many people will be familiar with it in the New Testament because there it's translated literally, where Paul says, what does Christ have to do with Belial, right?
That's right.
And he's setting up this great antithesis. There's nothing in common between the two, between Christ and Satan. So when the Old Testament refers to people as sons of Belial, it's not referring to them as literal offspring. Let me give you an example. In Deuteronomy 13, it says, "Certain men, the children of Belial, are gone out from among you and have withdrawn the inhabitants of their city, saying, 'Let us go and serve other gods, which you have not known.'" So here, these offspring of Belial are obviously being identified as wicked men, as people who ultimately follow Satan. It doesn't, again, mean that they're literal biological offspring of Satan. And for our Muslim hearers, it might be important here to point out that from a Christian perspective, Satan is not a tangible being, right? He's immaterial. He's spiritual in nature. And so it makes no sense biblically from a Jewish or Christian perspective to speak of Satan literally producing offspring. You have the same kind of idea in the New Testament when John the Baptist, for example, speaks of certain people being a brood of vipers, meaning the offspring of vipers. He's identifying their nature as serpent-like. He's pointing back to Genesis 3, where it says that certain people are going to be the seed of the serpent, the one who tempted Adam and Eve to sin. So with this background in mind, you can then begin to understand how this term is used in the New Testament with respect to Jesus. It's obvious that he's not being identified as a biological offspring of the Father. No Jew would have heard or understood Jesus in that way. But when Jesus spoke, and he spoke in a way that entailed that he wasn't merely a son in the way that other people could claim that, maybe by creation or by redemption, because those were two ways you could speak of somebody being a son of God. He was either directly created by God, or he was brought into the saving covenantal relationship and family of God and is called a son in that sense. But Jesus made unique claims for himself in relation to the Father.